Hello, I'm Rena, aka dunefoxx. If you're new here, welcome, and if you've been here before, nice to see you again. Today I'm going to be unboxing the Choso Nendoroid 2290 from Good Smell Company. This figure is listed with an MSRP of 6,500 yen, which roughly converts to 42 US dollars as of making this video. And I got mine from the US Good Smell Company online store for 41 plus tax and shipping, which came out to a total of 48 US dollars. And look, they give you cute freebies with your purchase. I actually got this early in June, but I'm only getting around to unboxing it now. I placed my pre-order sometime in January, pretty late since pre-order started October of last year. And honestly, I wasn't expecting this to come in till August because that's what it said when I placed my order, though it was released around May in Japan. If you reside outside of Japan, it's typical for figures to come in a couple months later after it's released. But yeah, I was pretty surprised that it got here just a month after. The way I'm going to be unboxing this will be different from how I normally unbox figures. I'm going to take all the parts out first, and then later on I'll go through different configurations to play around with them. So this video will most likely be longer than my normal videos. If you want to jump around different parts, I'll leave timestamps in the description box below. Anyway, here it is outside the box. Right off the bat, I can see 2 extra face parts, 2 extra full pairs of arms, and an extra pair of legs. There's also 1 extra hand and a separate accessory. I'm just carefully opening the resealable plastic insert, making sure not to crack it since I normally keep all the spare parts that are not in use inside it. The main figure in its standard configuration is wrapped securely in plastic. There is also plastic in between the main joints, 1 on the neck and 1 on the waist. You can definitely separate the parts to make it easier to pull out the plastic, but I'm just yanking it out carefully because I'm too lazy to fiddle with it right now. And here he is. I'm going to set him aside and take out the other parts first. I've emptied out the plastic insert, and now I'm taking out the plastic bag taped to its underside. From the looks of it, there are more parts than usual, so I'll quickly just go through these with you in case you're using my video as a reference to keep track of all the parts that come with this figure. Inside the plastic bag is the main base and a plastic stand for the background sheet that comes with it. And as you can see, there's another small plastic bag inside the one I just opened. The small plastic bag contains all the smaller parts, including the support arm for the main base, another smaller base, and another smaller support arm, a small clasp, and a spare joint. Make sure to keep the spare parts because it's pretty common to snap the neck joints on these figures. I'm setting these aside, and because this figure comes with a background sheet, I'm going to take out the inner package paperboard as well. If this is your first Nendoroid, you'll typically find the background sheet taped behind the paperboard. I'm just carefully taking it out. I try to keep the plastic intact for storage since I only ever use the background sheet for photos. I don't really display my figures with them, and I'm just setting that aside as well. So let's take a look at the actual figure. This is the standard configuration he comes in. The sculpt is pretty great. I love how his hair looks. His default face part, which is listed as his silent face, is pretty great and works with practically every pose or configuration you want to put him in. This is the second face part that comes in the box, and this is his flowing red scale stack or Sekiri Yakudosai face. And this is the third face part, his big brother face, which I'm personally not the biggest fan of, but it's not a bad face. I'm going to switch out his face part for the second one. In order to do that, I'm taking off the front hair portion. I had to loosen this up off camera because it was really tight and it wouldn't come off. It also hurts to remove because of how sharp and pointy certain parts of his hair are. Once that's off, I'm just pulling the face part out so I can pop the new one in. Once again, this is the second face part, his flowing red scale stag face, and I actually really love this face part as well. The bulging veins on his forehead are not as noticeable when the front hair part is on, but it adds a nice touch to his face and it makes it look more expressive. This is definitely a good face to use for more of the action poses. I'm also going to switch out his arms, and I'm doing that just by pulling them out. These standard arms are straight with the sleeves casually draping down, and it comes with closed fists that you can remove and switch out as well. I'll show you that later on, but for now I will be switching out both arms fully for another set. And the second set that I'm switching to are his convergence arms or byakuren arms. The hands on these aren't detachable like the ones attached to the first set. Instead, the hands attach to each other to form clasped hands. And there's only really one way to configure these arms. So I'm putting one side on, and I noticed that compared to the first set, this one needs to be really pushed in there to get it to stay in place. Most likely because, as I mentioned, there's only really one way to configure this set of arms, and they have to be put in a certain way. I'm putting in the other arm as well, and like the previous one, it's a little hard to push in. But once you clasp the hands together, the arm should stay in place. As you can see, as I'm turning the figure, even after pushing in the arms, there are still gaps, so I'm going to squeeze them into the joints a little more. Because I'm going for his convergence or byakuren stance, I'm going to switch out his legs as well, and he comes with one extra pair of legs that can be used for a wider stance. I'm just carefully pulling out these clear parts, which are shrink resistant plugs that are lodged inside each leg where the ball joints go in, and they're there to keep the hole in the part from shrinking. Some people throw these out. I personally keep them and make sure to put them back inside the part when I'm not using the said part. Now I'm just removing the hip part to make it easier to switch out the legs without disturbing the arms. The legs are a little harder to remove because of the ball type joint, so I'm carefully twisting while pulling with a little more force to take the legs out. His other set of legs kind of look very similar to the one I just removed, but these legs are actually bent at the knees and the feet are angled a different way. It's just hard to tell until you put them on the figure because both sets of legs are completely covered by his clothes. But yeah, this pair of legs are quite different from the standard one and angled a certain way to give him a wider stance. You can push each leg in and out depending on how wide of a stance you want to put him in. This is what they look like, and I actually really like this pair of legs because it makes the figure look a little more dynamic than just having it standing with a stiff, straight-legged pose. I'm just attaching the hip part back onto his torso, and now I have him in his convergence stance. I'm going to put him on the base, and this is what it looks like. This is typical for the Jujutsu Kaisen Nendoroid figures. The bases come with a symbol that represents each character, and his base has a symbol that looks to be two hands clasped together showing convergence. I've already attached the support arms wide plug onto the base, and I'm going to attach the thin plug to the hole on his back. This is normally a pretty tight fit since you'd want the arm to be able to support and hold the figure in any pose, even when it's floating off the base. I'm just adjusting him a little and making sure he's centered. Piercing blood or senketsu wouldn't be piercing blood without blood effects, and this is just one of two that come with the figure. And I'm going to place this right in front of his clasped hands, and In order to make it float, I'm going to need something to hold it, and this figure actually comes with a smaller base just for this part. So there's a small disc for a base. There's also this tiny part that's going to clasp onto the blood effect part, and that small part attaches to a support arm, much like the one holding Choso up, but smaller and thinner. The tiny clasp attaches to the support arm like so, and the support arm can actually bend both ways. If you look at product photos for this figure, you'll see that they have the smaller base angled and configured a certain way, but I'm doing it differently because personally, I think it looks better this way. So I have the support arm stretched way out into the base instead of in a half circle shape, like the support arm behind Choso, and I find that it looks less obtrusive this way in photos. That's another configuration for this figure. I'm going to play around with a few more so I can show you the other parts that come with it. I'm taking him off the base again and just leaving the fin plug on his back. Then switching out the arms for the third set that he comes with. And this set of arms look very similar to the first set, with the sleeves draping down as well, except this set of arms are bent at the elbows. With this set of arms, the hands are also interchangeable, like the first set, but out of the box, the hands that are attached to it are the ones depicting hardened blood. That's why they're red, and they just slide off easily like so. Here's an arm from the first set just to compare and show you the difference, though both sets of hands that come with these arms have closed fists. Like I mentioned, the third pair of arms are bent at the elbows, and they have creasing on the fabric where the arm is bent, as you can see here. The first pair of arms are just completely straight, and the fabric on the clothes are just smooth. I'm going to set the first arm aside and attach a third set of arms onto the figure, and these arms definitely go in a lot easier than the second set, probably because they're meant to pivot unlike the previous ones, and I really like these, especially the configuration with the hardened blood hands. And I just know this arm and hand combo was made specifically for that one pose. You know which one I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to switch out the face part for the third one. On the Good Smell Company page for this Nendoroid, this third face part is called the Big Brother face. Now, it's not my favorite face part, but I do know a lot of people love this, so I'm not gonna knock it. If anything, though, it does add variety, and it's nice to have more than two face parts to choose from. It's definitely expressive, and even though I initially didn't like it, it is starting to grow on me. Anyway, this is the last part that comes with the figure. It's a hand with a removable blood effect part, and I'm not really sure what this is supposed to be. The closest thing I can think of is Blood Edge or Ketsujin, where he shapes blood into a dagger if we're basing this off of the anime, but I really don't recall a single instance where he's just holding blood that way. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but if you know what it's supposed to be, or if this is an actual thing in the anime, let me know in the comments down below. But back to the figure, I just switched his legs back to the first set off camera to save time, and now I'm taking off his right hand so I can switch it out for the hand with the blood effect part. This part is actually really tricky to put in, and it's my least favorite part that comes with this figure. I'd probably only use it for photos, but I would never display it with this part because the blood effect part gets knocked off easily, and I wouldn't want to accidentally lose it. Also, don't be like me. Make sure you securely attach the hand first before you even attempt to attach the blood effect part onto the hand, or else it's just going to keep flying off. This part is so frustrating to work with because you have to push it in a certain way to get it to stick, only for it to get knocked off easily. So, watch me struggle with this piece for a good minute. Word of advice, if you're still planning on displaying this figure with this small piece, make sure you secure it with something like museum putty, because I assure you, there's no way this part is staying on. The smallest movement or adjustment would knock it right off. So yeah, did I mention how frustrating it is to get this part on? I've been at this for almost 2 minutes now and I still can't get it to stay on. I'm just going to leave this as is and not try to move it anymore. I'm just attaching the hip part back to his torso and I'm calling it a day. I almost forgot to show the background sheet he comes with, so here it is. It's from this scene right here. I don't really know what it is about Choso, but I always found his character design to be interesting, especially the color choices they made for his anime version. The shade of purple for his clothes goes so well with the brown and the white, and generally speaking, brown and purple is just a color combination that I really love. Plus the red from the blood effect parts add a nice pop of color to the figure. I love that they give him a pair of arms specifically to put him in his byakuren stance, and they even gave him a blood effect part with its own accessories for piercing blood. I really don't have anything bad to say. I guess if anything, they could have switched out the one extra hand with the blood effect part for something else that's a little more significant to the character, but other than that, all the other parts that come with him make perfect sense. So should you pick this up? It's really not that hard to justify buying this Nendoroid, especially if you already like the character. For what you get, I think it's priced fairly. I almost didn't pre-order him, but I'm glad I did because the 3 face parts alone already make this purchase worth it.